Shri Mataji, Sarah,
Mataji.
thank you for joining us again this afternoon. It's a little bit overcast, but nice, cool, breezy outside. How's it there up in Sheffield?
Yeah, just exactly that.
Exactly that.
Same thing. Same thing up here, yeah.
Okay, perfect time to talk about your journey, which you were explaining to us, how you got your realization and all those pujas as a 19-year-old, a very young adult, and finding your feet in Sahaja Yoga, in the meditation, in the collective. Would you please share with us from where we left just before you went to America? What was it? What was it all about? And how did you go to America? Why?
I think I did explain a little bit about the fact that I had this idea I wanted to go
Yeah.
abroad. That's what it was. I mean, I don't know now
Yeah,
why I
it's
did
just one
that.
of those things
I
when
just
we're
had
young.
this. Um, and of course I went to Spain and that didn't work out. I think I'd said that, it didn't
Yes, you have.
work out, yeah. So then when I got back, my sister had all these au pair jobs lined up. Her, my mum and her boyfriend and my siblings had gone to America the year before or something, and they got to know somebody there, and she'd wanted my sister to come back, and so she had all these au pair jobs lined up, and so yeah, we I thought, well, I might as well. I mean, I don't think I ever thought I would go to the USA. I don't think that was in my plan.
No, no. And you had two jobs there, wasn't it?
Yes, yes. So I had a job in Washington. Yeah, I had a job and I didn't get on with the mother of the children, and so in the end, I finished that. I left that. Then I went into this family where I really, really loved the family, and they really, really loved me. But then, so I was with them for maybe 3 months, and then
Mm.
I think Linda Taylor, who
Mm.
was Linda Carday then,
Mm.
she she suggested I go and live with Babette in who's a yogini in Connecticut, because
Yes.
because Babette needed somebody to kind of lay a foundation of Saj Yoga in their household, because
Mm.
her husband had been taking drugs and now he wasn't taking drugs, and he'd actually been on the India tour. Now that
Mm.
is like a really incredible story. I mean, I hope somebody's telling that story, because
Why don't you share with what you know about the story till someone
well,
shares it?
interestingly, Sri Mataji visited the New York ashram in 1986,
Mm.
in the New Jersey ashram in 1986, towards the end, like November probably. And I
Mm.
think I just must have just not known about that, because I didn't go up there to see her.
Mm.
And Babette tells, I mean, they'll anyone in that who was in that ashram will be able to tell you this amazing story. Was that Peter, her husband, came to pick her up on the motorbike. Sri Mataji had just washed her hair. She was just kind of just getting ready. She just had a bath and washed her hair. And she was just getting ready. And she told somebody to tell Peter to come and see her.
Mm.
And I don't know whether it was Babette or she told somebody. Anyway, so Babette asked, Peter to come into the ashram to come and see her. So Peter said no, he wasn't going to come in. He was like too nervous. He wasn't a yogi. Peter wasn't a yogi.
His wife was.
His wife was, yeah, definitely a yogi, and had been for a while. Um, And so there was this like to-ing and fro-ing and to-ing and fro-ing. And then Babette said that she finally said, if you really loved me, you would come in. And then he was like, oh, right, that's it, I'm going. And and everyone says that Sri Mataji was out that door, standing next to him in seconds. She
Oh.
she came down the stairs, was out the door, standing next to, because he was on the corner still on his motorbike,
Mm.
the corner road of the road. And then she spoke to him for ages. I mean,
Uh-huh.
of course, he couldn't go then. And yeah, she spoke to him for ages. And I don't know, people say that she spoke to him about everything from children to drugs. I don't know. And she told, and I think now, I don't know, I've just got this sense that she was holding his hand. So I don't know if that's right, but so this is why it needs to be somebody who was there who really tells the story. But
Mm.
she said that she wants him to go to India.
Uh-huh.
So and so somehow Babette got him to India. I mean,
Wow.
Shri Mataji got him to India, even though he
Amazing.
wasn't a yogi.
Wow.
And he married. I mean, he was already. I think he might have been already married to Babette, but anyway, he was with Babette, and he had a child with Babette, and so they had a marriage there. A Saj Yoga marriage there in
Oh,
India.
wow. So this would be the India tour 1985.
85, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so that's why they wanted me to kind of come and help
mm.
to establish a kind of a Saj Yoga,
Uh-huh.
like, I mean, it was really tough, and Peter wasn't interested.
No.
But I don't know, it was obviously meant to be. Apparently, the vibrations were really strong. I don't think I kind of felt the vibrations then, but so I think I was with her for maybe 3 months.
Yes.
And you see, when I came to Saj Yoga, I had a boyfriend, and
Mm.
I really, really loved him.
Uh-huh.
And you know, I always questioned myself after that trip to America. Why did I leave him if I really loved him? Why did I go
Yeah.
to America? But anyway, so he's the reason I came back then. I
Right.
come back that summer.
So that's August 1986, isn't it?
Yes. But then he went off traveling and he found somebody else. And so that was a whole another story, long story in my life, but I mean, it's not really necessarily
No. Okay.
the Saj Yoga story. Um, and yeah, so then I came back and I lived with Joan for a while,
Yes.
um, until she had to leave the collective because she was going through this divorce and she was going through this court case. And I think in those days it was like we needed to, when it was all messy,
Mm.
we needed to leave the collective really.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I then went to live with my mum. So I lived with my
Uh-huh.
mum for maybe a year and a half, then maybe.
Uh-huh.
So, oh wait, no, no, no. Well, no, this was 1980. So, beginning in 1987, I went to live with my mum, and then Rachel and Jay. Well, actually, they were both called Jane. I don't know if you know Rachel. I mean, you must know Rachel
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. I mean, I
yeah.
haven't
She's
seen her in
called
ages,
Jane.
but we do know her. Yeah.
She was called Jane originally when she came to Saj Yoga. So there was
Really?
two
Oh,
Janes, right?
uh-huh.
And eventually she changed her name to Rachel because of all these two Janes thing. This
So who
two.
was the other Jane?
She's called Jane. I think she's still called Jane Stringer. She married an Austrian.
Uh-huh.
Um, she's kind of, I don't know. I think sometimes people see her. She left the collective, but I don't know if she really left Saj Yoga. I think anyway, she divorced her husband there.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, so but they were really good friends when they first came. Then they didn't really they kind of lost touch, I think, with each other.
Yeah. What is it
But
about doing Shri Krishna Puja every Saturday
yes, you
and
see, we lived.
Christ Puja with the whole collective on Sundays? What was that about?
Yes, yes. I mean, I think I think that's something that we did in the Sheffield Collective from when I
Uh-huh.
first came to Saj Yoga that we did. I mean, we did a Christ Puja because it was Sunday, not
Mm.
because of any other reason, but just because Sundays we would get together and have a puja, and because it was Sunday, it was a Christ Puja.
Uh-huh.
Um, But then I moved in to a house with Jane and Rachel. And
Mm-hmm.
so there was just three of us living in this little house. And we used to do a Krishna Puja every Saturday.
Mm.
And that's because it was Saturday. That's why we did it. It was a Christmas Puja, Krishna Puja. There was this one day where this bird got into the house,
Right.
little Bluetit. Um, and it just felt extremely auspicious because, first of all, we just didn't know how this bird had got into the house because all the windows were closed and the doors were closed.
Wow.
But also, it just had, I mean, now it's got vibrations now when I think about it because,
Mm.
because the blue tit has got a yellow breast
Yeah.
like Shri Krishna, so
Yeah.
um, blue with a yellow breast. So it was just like, it was really, just really lovely. So this bird flew around the whole house, and eventually we could allow him to leave the house. But at one point, he did come and sit on the altar.
Wow.
Yeah, because we had a little tiny meditation room there. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Amazing. Oh, wow.
yeah. So that was probably my only little miracle of Saj Yoga.
Wow. And then in 1986, 87, Shudy Camp started happening, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh,
I think I was there like every so often until about um 3 months before, maybe 2 or 3 months before Guru Puja, and then I kind of went down there to live and
mm.
do all, we were getting everything ready for the puja, but of course, getting everything ready for the puja was getting Shri Mataji's rooms ready and Sir CP's
Yeah.
rooms, and um, oh, Shudy Camps was just out of this world.
Did you ever meet Shri Mataji while you were in all these, these times of activity and doing
Um,
things, arranging things? Any particular memories?
Well, you see, she didn't come until the puja to Shudy Camps.
Ah, okay.
Um, which was kind of, we were actually getting everything ready for her to come, and um, but I do remember, I think it might have been that weekend or it might have been another time.
Mm.
It might have been around the Easter puja that we were allowed to sleep in her. In she had the bedroom, and then she had these steps down, and then she had the living room.
Mm.
We were allowed to sleep in the living room. And I just remember this one time. Well, I mean, I think that was the only time that we did, and she just opened the door at like, I don't know, 5:30 probably in the morning, and asked for a cup of tea. It was just like, that's the memory I have of just, oh my gosh, we should really be ready. We should be up. We should be awake. We should be.
And what do you remember of Shri Mataji at 5:30 in the morning there then at
She
that?
was she was just like so normal.
Yeah.
She was just so like,
So in a
like,
nice cotton sari and ready to go.
yes, 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 and her hair was all down and out, and she was just like, so it was just, it wasn't, we knew it wasn't normal.
Mm.
She kind of behaved like it was normal, that she would just come out, say, can I have a cup of tea, kind of thing.
Wow.
I mean, obviously it was all ladies sleeping there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't actually, like, I suppose I was always one of those people who kind of didn't really know the right thing, so let other people do the things that needed to be done. But that I do remember, that the bedroom, it was just so vibrated, it was so. I just
Yes.
remember that carpet.
Vibrations. Yeah.
That carpet. They have that carpet in the meditation room
In the
the
farm.
farm now. I think it might be like a carpet that she really likes. That color. That. And so when I see that carpet, it just really reminds me of, Shudy Camps and her. It was her apartments were all in that kind of a reddish type of soft, lovely carpet.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Judy Camps was very amazing, wasn't it? It was
Yes.
it.
It's hard to kind of describe the atmosphere. I mean, the peacocks. I think the peacocks. There was something about the peacocks and the peacock cries that kind of would keep reminding you this is the New Jerusalem, and
Yes, yes,
also just the closeness that we all had, we all kind of grew so close to each other, and so and all these people from all these different countries, you see. So
yes,
so the fact that there was people working there from all different countries felt
yes,
so. I mean, I'm sure lots of the other people were kind of used to this from Brompton Square, to be
mm,
making to be building a house for Shri Mataji, renovating a house. At the same time, I did get the sense from those people who had that experience that there was some kind of extra thing about Shudy Camps, that it was that it was the New Jerusalem, and that
So could you elaborate upon it for us? Because people who would be watching this, for those of us who weren't there, can you put it into words for us? It's not easy.
you see what a lot of it was just about a lot of it was about just that it's an enormous amount of humor, like when I say an enormous amount, I mean it was just there all the time. The
Mm,
humor was
mm.
there all the time, and this kind of in German they say Kirstly, but my mom used it the other day. She's
Mm.
like a delicious, it's delicious,
Oh.
Um, and so that's what I mean, maybe the English say it too, because she said, "Oh, that's delicious," something to do with the nature of the togetherness, and
Yes.
um, the depth of it, and uh, I mean, there were dramas, and there was, all that kind of stuff that happens in collectives, but um, it was just it was so. And the children, there was a few children there as well. I
Oh.
think that might have been that. I don't know if that was later, but I don't know.
Ah. So I mean it's a very special divine experience, isn't it? You would have felt the vibration so much more stronger than
Yes,
perhaps when you weren't there, and the presence of
yes,
the deities and the depth of the experiences, isn't
yes.
it? The joy and the fulfillment.
Yeah, it's just like it's really like you just want to be able to get that across in words, and it's not. I don't know if it's like I remember the attic. There was the attic was just this one big room,
Yes.
and when I first got there, the men were sleeping up there, and they were so cold that
Mm.
they had to use the hairdryer to warm their clothes up in the morning. But gradually that attic, was done out, and then it became kind of like the meditation space up there, and
Mm.
so we would have pujas up there for the national pujas. I think that was 1980, might have been 1988, but it could have been 1987, where we had a Shiva puja, and then we had a birthday puja there. And I remember this one time when all the deities were. I kind of just had this sense of all the deities outside in the
Wow.
sky, kind of there with us. Uh, I had that feeling. I think that was the Shiva puja. I just remember those pujas so powerful.
Yes.
It's possible that the pujas now in the farm are the same, you know,
Okay.
the same kind of level of vibrations, but
Uh-huh.
it's not so new to us now as it was then. Do you see what I mean? It's like because I do definitely feel that at the farm now. It's so powerful, so powerful. Because there's this build up, build up, build up each puja, you know. And obviously it's a lot more powerful since Adi Shakti Puja, an international one. So yeah, it's just, it felt so special. It felt so special.
Yes. And
So
what?
historic.
Yeah.
It felt so historic.
It must have been.
There was a lot of Austrians there. A
Yes.
lot of Austrians, and there was two or three, maybe more, um, couples that had been engaged who were English Austrian. There definitely felt like an a link between England and Austria there at that time. Well, not England, but Britain and Austria there at that time.
Yeah.
Obviously, there were other people. There was Australians. There were some Australians that came to work there as well. And of course, Martin Purcell was the he was an Australian, and he was the kind of
Yeah.
project manager for the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he used to say that he wasn't really a Saj Yogi in the same way as we were.
Right.
he,
It was that
so
modesty.
he used to say he can't feel
Humility.
vibrations. He only knows what chakras catching by the thoughts that he has.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he obviously was, you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. There
because
was an
the
sorry,
main,
go on.
he was the one who was kind of main, he was the coordinator of all the building, you know,
Mm.
of all the building work. And then I kind of became the coordinator of the women. I was the one who, this must have been a few couple of months before Guru Puja 1987. I was the one who was kind of organising the women. So when people arrive, when there was this mass people arriving, you know, a week before the puja,
Yeah.
you know, Martin couldn't tell everybody what to do, so I was telling everybody what to do as well, you know. And there was
Right.
all these men in from that came from Europe, probably mostly from Austria, where there was like, what is this? This woman walking around telling people what to do, you know. And it's funny when I remember it now, because obviously we got that idea in Saj Yoga that it's only the men that tell people what to do in Saj. I mean, you know, I don't think it would be like that now, would it? But it's definitely not like that now. There's lots of Yuva women
Yeah.
and organized things, but it seemed, I don't think it seemed odd for us here in Shudy Camps, but I think it seemed a bit odd for them that this woman was, I mean, I looked a bit weird as well. I had a scarf on my head, and I was like, to protect my hair and stuff, and I don't know. But so, but it was all, I mean, there was just, as I say, there was this huge, it was a very typical kind of wild English humor there all the time, you know, that like,
Yeah. Can
typical.
you give us an example that might illustrate the point
Well,
of
okay, there was this one thing. Now, I don't know if Harry would say this was funny, right? You know,
right?
Harry, who lives in Austria.
Yes, we did a golden memories of the golden builders a while ago now. So yeah, that's how I know him.
All right, so I'll have to watch that. It'll be great. Anyway, I don't think he found this very funny, but everybody else did, right? He's every so often he used to stand and give a lecture about the tools, you know,
Oh,
and about how you should put the tools back and where you should put the tools back, you know. Like there was a few of those lectures, you know, and he
yeah,
was very serious, you know, but
yeah.
everybody else was kind of, I mean, we were taking him seriously, we were respecting what he was saying, but we
Mm,
were also finding it quite amusing, you know. And he had this really strong Scottish accent, which he doesn't have so strong anymore because of all the
yeah.
German that he now speaks. Um, And well, and also you've got to make yourself understood over there. That's partly why you lose your accent. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so he that was one of those kind of, delicious kind of Kirstly kind of things, Um, and uh, and then there was this other thing where Steve Jones, I remember Steve Jones, he was like, like he was doing all this stuff in the windows, and the windows were like these little small squares. And he would look through the window, and and he had this nickname, what was it, Nirananda, I think.
Uh-huh. Shri Mataji gave him.
I don't think it was Shri Mataji. I think it might have
Okay.
been us. I can't remember. It was one of those near. It was either Nirananda or Nirvikalpa or something. Because he was just so always so in Saraswara, but he would just this kind of little face peeking through the window, and we would just like follow him and say, "Oh, it's Nirvikalpa." But I
Uh,
can't even remember what it was. Finbar will remember what his name was, what his nickname was. Um, but yes, and just like constant, so that was just constant. We were just constantly teasing each other and taking the mickey out of each other, and
wow.
yeah,
That looks like all the people just having a lot of fun with all the work that went
yes,
on at
yes,
the time.
yes,
And Shrimatji would visit for the pujas, and suddenly all the vibrations would sort of reach a climax, and you
yes,
in a state of
absolutely.
bliss. And
Yes, that was the crescendo, of course. That's what
yeah,
we were working towards.
yeah.
And I remember it with Guru Puja, and then with Easter Puja, and then
Which year is that? Sister Puja 90.
Easter Puja was 1988.
Okay. So what
Yeah.
happened there then?
I remember. I'm pretty sure that it was Easter Puja. There was another, of course, build up, and then the Austrians arrived in a bus
Mhm.
like 4 days before, and they were like, "Why isn't it finished? We thought it'd be finished." And we were like, "Why did you think it would be finished?"
So the Austrians expected the work to be finished
I
before.
know. I was like, "Why? When has it ever been finished?" Like
Yeah.
4 days before the puja, because of course there was another huge level of work that we had to do by the Easter puja. Obviously, by Guru Puja 1987, we'd got Mother's apartments ready, but there was still loads of other work to do. Um, so I do remember. I remember that the kitchen, the kitchen was a really big kitchen.
Yeah, it must have been.
Actual, like we used to have a kitchen in all different places, but the kitchen that we really needed to finish off as the kitchen, as the permanent kitchen, that was really big. And I remember the tiling was all done in a night, and that was this bus of Austrians arriving, and I mean they were like, we thought it'd all be finished, we've not got the right clothes, but of course they completely got involved and did it with all as even though they didn't have the right clothes. They
So,
just mucked in, but a lot of them were the people who'd been there the year before, so
mm,
um, yeah, and um, I just remember all these little dramas, between people going on just before Shri Mataji arrived. It was like I remember thinking, how can there be that many dramas in like a few hours? And then Shri Mataji arrived, and you can see that in a video when she arrives and
wow.
everyone's giving her the
We'll put a
flower
link to Easter
in the
Puja
front of the
1950. Yeah.
yeah, in the front, and then she went in, and then she came to the window of her bedroom and
Wow.
opened the window and started talking to us. Now there must have been maybe a little kind of few people who'd kind of gone round there because they want because that's where Shri Mataji was. So they'd gone round to where Shri Mataji was to take the vibrations, and she opened the window, and so as she started talking, everybody worked out, and so they all kind of went there. And I don't know whether that was recorded, but she really talked to us for a little while, and she said I remember her saying that every brick is vibrated with our love, and
Wow.
she was so happy with us, and she
Every brick there was made of love. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. When was then Shudy Camp's amazing things happening? You are progressing on your spiritual journey vibrationally every way. So what happens next? Was it an India tour?
For me, so next was getting married. I mean, next was like in so I mean, I went to Saraswara Puja 1988. That was in Italy,
Oh, okay.
and then um, what I remember about that was the extreme pain I was in the night before the puja. I think it was like the lower chakras were just in extreme pain the night before the puja. So it was
Mm.
obviously a big workout.
Mm.
And we were next to the sea. Those are the two things I remember about that puja.
Where was the puja?
I think that's Fragine. I think it's called Fragine, 1988. Sorry, that was in Italy. In Italy.
Sahasrara Puja.
Yeah.
Okay.
And uh, yeah, Easter Puja was just out of this world.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and there was the Messiah there. So we practiced we sang Handel's Messiah at that Easter Puja in Shudy Camps. Yeah. And then well, I got engaged. I was on the marriage list, but I kind of thought that I'd be getting married in India, So, but I was matched. So I was matched with a French guy.
Did you have any expectations? We would like to know because it's coming close to Sri Ganesh Puja and the marriages happen. What was it like in those days, marriages? What were your expectations and filling up the forms? Of course, Shimachi was there matching with vibrations and stuff.
I
Could
mean,
you?
it was kind of exciting, It was kind of a feeling of excitement of like, oh, you could get anybody, you could end up anywhere, you could. And just for me, it was just completely trusting, not thinking. Like when people said, "Oh, that's so brave," I thought, "What? I didn't." I see. I didn't. I was so. I think it was just naivety, not necessarily faith. It was just naivety. Like, it didn't occur to me that anything could be difficult or. And anyway, so I was matched with this guy from Marseille who was called Guy. And I thought I'd be getting married in India. I said I was saving up for India, but so we were like communicating by letter, but he thought I was. He thought I was coming to Italy to get married. There was these weddings in. I think it was called Gelati, the ashram there on Como, and yeah, and I was just like, he was just so determined. I'm like, okay, and then what he said was, I'll pay for everything. Don't worry about, I'll pay for everything.
So this is 1988.
Yeah, so I went down in the car with Chris Marlowe too. He drove all the way, and this yogi met me on the night of the public program, which was the Friday night or the Friday afternoon, and he decided by the Friday night he didn't want to marry me. So I'd come all the way to get married because he was so
What did
determined.
you make of it? I mean, okay.
Well, it was another one of those like, oh right, I mean, I was disappointed, and I was also a bit kind of, um, deflated by somebody refusing me in so little time. It's just like, what did I do wrong, kind of thing. Um, and and I was a bit, yeah, I was a bit kind of disappointed and sad, and but then it was Krishna Puja, on the Saturday it was the Krishna Puja, so I think I just got involved in the puja then,
That's it. Yeah.
yeah, and then that night we had the was it that night, that evening? It could have been that evening, or it could have been the next day. I think it was the next day. I think it was the Sunday before the puja. She
Hmm.
must did all these matches.
Oh,
First, she matched Sigrid and Steve inside the house.
so this is 1988 Shri Krishna Puja.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, and I think that was the very first one, Sigrid
Hmm.
and Steve, and then she went up to the balcony, and I
Yeah.
think me and Walter may have been the next one then.
Ah.
So so Hester just got hold of me and brought me over. What was actually happening with the whole collective was
Hmm.
they were everyone was getting oiled, ready for
Ah.
the haldi, and we were having this dancing and in the big, 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 huge garden, and then Hester got hold of me, took me to the balcony, and Walter was already standing there. And he was looking at me and he said, I was sleeping, I was sleeping. I was thinking, I didn't understand what he meant, what I was sleeping. He was actually asleep. They'd actually picked him. This is what I found out afterwards.
I was
Like
sleeping.
the men, the Austrian men had picked him up without waking him up, picked him up while he was asleep, took him to the balcony and just stood him there in front of Shrimati.
That's old.
Believe it.
Old. Oh my
Crazy. And then, so there he was standing in front of Rishabhat. He wasn't quite awake, poor chap. And then there I was, is like, you know,
It's beyond hilarious.
his match,
And he,
He
the,
said
and
to me
he
later,
remembers Shri Mataji.
yeah. And he said to me later, I looked at you and you were a redhead, and I thought, oh, must be okay, a redhead. Because I did have red hair then. And yes, and Shimataji did smile at. He said that Shimataji said to him, she's a good girl, but that's before I arrived. And then she gave me a big smile, and I think that's what worked it out for both of us. And
Yeah.
then she went straight to the next couple. Like she went straight to matching the next couple, and there must have been, I don't know whether
Mm.
it's 5 or 6 couples got married. Sorry, got matched there like 4 hours before the weddings.
Wow.
4 or 5 hours before the weddings. Yeah.
That's amazing. Amazingly
Yeah.
beautifully arranged marriage.
Well, yeah, and it's just that the amount of vibrations is what makes it possible.
Absolutely. You
The
wouldn't otherwise.
vibrations that
Yeah.
makes it's like you're not thinking. You're just
No.
not thinking. You're just
Yeah.
doing. I mean, and I really did like Walter. When we sat down and talked. We got on really well, and yeah,
Yes, obviously you did. You've got lovely two children, Pearl and Blake.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
so yes, Shimataji
yeah,
knew that.
yeah. I mean, we had, after that. Um, one thing, the first thing he gave me was some soap for the haldi. He hated the haldi ceremony, but anyway.
Ah.
But yeah, that was quite ironic that he gave me this soap. That was the first thing he gave me. But anyway, um, yeah. But after that, after the wedding, I went to Austria for a week.
Hmm.
Basically, that was the honeymoon. Basically, I mean, I hadn't known that that's what I was going to be doing. I must have been able to get a week off work, and we drove through the Swiss mountains. He specifically drove that way because normally you don't drive that way from Cabela, because he wanted to show me the mountains. It was
Uh-huh.
absolutely out of this world. It was so beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah.
And,
Amazing.
and then, Gantnagasser, he lived at Gantnagasser ashram. So that was quite an amazing experience. And we had a really lovely week together. We really did bond.
Mm.
And um, then I had to go back home, and he kind of, really persuaded me to not. I wanted to finish my job, I'd said I'd be there for a certain amount of months, but he persuaded me to. Oh no, now we're married, you've got to come, kind of thing. But yeah, well, there was lots of pujas that after those weddings, and I feel like that all the vibrations that were going on in those pujas is what gave us all that push to
Mm.
get to move into the marriages, because as we say, the Saj Yoga marriages are not like any other marriage. So
No.
you have to have the vibrations to make them work. But yeah, so there was the Fatima Puja, there was the um I think there was a Ganesha Puja. Was there a Ganesha Puja in Switzerland in 1988? Uh, I don't know whether that was in 1989 or 1988, but I do remember there was like three or four pujas, one after the other. And of course, there was Guru Puja,
Mm.
and then there was Krishna Puja.
This is 1988 still, yeah?
Yeah, and I think the Fatima Puja then was the week after. So I
Okay.
think I think I went to that puja before I came home.
Wow. And what was the difference like in vibrations and collectivity? Because you'd experienced England, the heart of the universe, and then you went to Austria and you got matched and married. What was it like vibrationally,
Oh, it was
in a
awful.
deeper sense?
I, I tell you, my first year in Austria was really tough. It was really tough. I think I was depressed that year. I think that's the only time I've actually been depressed in my life. I was depressed and I was lonely. And I think also I suppose one of the things that I kind of noticed at some point, I worked this out, was that it was in 1991 when, well, between 89 and 91, all the borders, all the Iron Curtain fell gradually. And as the Iron Curtain fell and the people came in from the Eastern Bloc, that really opened the heart more in Austria. But I think it was a really closed heart when I went there. I think it wasn't just me and my kind of reaction to it and my homesickness. I think it wasn't just that. I think it was a really kind of oppressed heart when I first went there, because it did get better. I think vibrationally it did get better in Austria.
Yeah, of
Although, of course, it was a really good collective. It was
course.
already a really strong collective. I
Yeah.
think about it. I went in 1988. It only started in 1982. Talking, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so when I was the first year that I was there, it was really tough. I found it really tough. Um, and I do think one of the reasons I found it really tough was because I was really reacting to Austria. I was reacting to I think I got on mostly with the yogis, but I think I was just reacting to Austria and the atmosphere there and the um, obviously various things probably about how the yogis were. And I remember I had this thing about how they used to talk about food all the time, and I used to find that just so um, not spiritual, which is really funny because I talk about food all the time, and I'm all into food these days, but I don't know. But anyway, I think the this is something that I was talking with an Austrian about recently, is that I think there's still, even now, there's still something that just sits on the heart in Austria, and there's that. And also, there's the fact that in England, the the spirit, there is something about the spirit and the heart that is so, I don't know, I think we don't realize what we've got here until we move somewhere else. There is just something about the joy and the spirit and the heart, and of course I was really missing that, and I felt quite desolate without it. But obviously the Austria's got a different quality, you know, when you meditate there, you feel the peace, you feel the power of the left nabi, and also you feel the power of the quality of the collective. And I think that's what I gradually I was gradually able to absorb it. And one of the reasons that I started to be able to absorb it was because I recognized that if I put my attention on the negativity in this country, then that's what I will absorb. I will absorb the negativity in this country if that's what I put my attention on. If I put my attention on the positive stuff, then I'll absorb the positive stuff. And so that was quite a big lesson for me. That actually did me good for the rest of my life. to be putting the attention on the positive stuff. It is something I remember. I remember having a conversation with Jean-Luc in Shudy Camps, where Jean-Luc was really, he's called Janaka now. He was really deep in Shudy Camps. And I remember saying to him, what is it that, what was it? I think it was something like, what is it that makes us go down? What is it that makes us go down? When we're really, our vibrations are great, what is it that makes our vibrations go down? And he said, it's when we put our attention on the negativity. And I always remembered that. I mean, not that I have always stuck by it, obviously, because I had that whole year in Austria after that conversation with Janica, who was Jean-Luc then. Yeah, but I think it did help me to recognize I need to put my attention on the positive stuff. So yeah, and I went to India that year. I'd been trying to get to India ever since I'd come to Saj Yoga. I've been trying to get to India. There was something about Marion Walter that just just exploded the amount that I could do. Of course, I had been to a lot of pujas, but anyway, so I don't know how we afforded it, because he didn't earn a lot, but we seemed to be able to get to so much. And so I went to India in 1988, and Walter also went to India that year. Also, I went to Diwali Puja that year, before India. Diwali Puja was in Shudy Camps, and I think that was the time that I went to Shri Mataji's feet. And I am sorry to say I don't actually remember the experience. I just remember that I think I did get to go to Shri Mataji's feet as a married lady there. at Diwali Puja 1988. Maybe I'm remembering it now because I've just gone completely thoughtless. Maybe that's just what I remember with the vibration and more experience of it. So yeah, and then I went to India in 1988. And so what I remember about India in 1988, so I've been in Shudy camps for like 3 years, off and on. I'd had this experience of Shudy camps, and I remember being quite disappointed in the vibrations in India. Can you believe it? I'm just going to pull my ears. And I think it's because what my experience was of India was it's like I didn't feel the vibrations of India until after I came back. And when I came back from India, then I felt the immense power of it. Yeah, of course, India, the vibrations of the India tour was extremely powerful. There's so many pujas one after the other. With Shri Mataji, I have to admit I don't have many memories. I just remember thinking that. I remember feeling kind of disappointed that the vibrations were not as good as Shudy camps, but that's actually not the case. The vibrations were definitely as good as Shudy camps. It was just a different experience of them. And of course it was the nature of the vibrations in India is so different. It's so clearing. The earth is so clearing there. I mean, I don't know what it's like now because it's definitely changed a lot. But Shri Mataji took us she took us on these tours around the villages, and she would do public programs. So it was a tour of the villages of Maharashtra, of public programs, and of course we would also have lots of pujas, like one puja after another, like immense. I don't know how many years that happened. I don't know how many years there was India tours, but of course we thought that it would never end. We thought there would always be India tours. And I think that might have been the first year in Ganapati Pule in 1988, but I might be wrong about that. That year we weren't in the same place as we were later. That year we were in a slightly different place in Ganapati Pule. Yeah. But as I say, when I got back, I just felt amazing, absolutely amazing for weeks. Such amazing joy. One thing I remember, I don't know if this was my experience after this puja, sorry, not this puja, this tour or a different tour, but it doesn't really matter which tour it was, but I brought some earth home from Ganapati Pule, and I remember opening the box that I'd put it in, and I remember just the joy coming out of this box of earth from Ganapati Pule, and the vibrations, and it was like sparkles of vibrations and joy, and that's when I really felt how alive, that's when I really felt, I suppose what I felt there was Mother Earth as a deity. I think that's what I was feeling. I was feeling the qualities of Mother Earth as a deity when I opened that box. And of course it was Ganapati Pule, and I took the earth from where Mother had walked on the earth, and yeah. So now we're coming into 1989. Me and Walter lived in a little flat in 14th district of Vienna, really quite a small flat, like the we had a shower in the kitchen, like a shower cubicle in the kitchen, and I was just not. I was like not very gracious about living in this flat that didn't have a bath, which is quite ironic now because I don't like baths. It was, when I look back on that flat, I think that was a great place. It was great, you know. I remember I would do Havans. We had this like little meditation area, and we had 2 rooms in this flat, and we used to do Havans with, and yeah, and pujas. I used to do lots of pujas and Havans there, and I learnt German. I remember learning German by watching these old Austrian films while I was ironing. Did lots of ironing there. Anyway, I don't know if you want to know about all this, but anyway, so we went to lots of pujas in 1989 too. Went to Saraswara Devi in Sorrento. Now then, was that the year that Guru Puja was in Lago de Brais? Yes, Guru Puja was in Austria. I mean, actually, no, it was in Italy. Yeah, by then, because that part of Austria, it was Austria, but at that point it belonged to it, but you know, it belongs to Italy now after the war. So it was quite interesting because it was a place, it was an Austrian puja. Austria was hosting it, but it was in Italy, and it was a place that used to belong to Austria. And it was absolutely beautiful, beautiful place. Oh. And I was there, I remember I was there helping to get the apartment ready for Shri Mataji. And one thing I remember about that puja was they planned to put, they had this desire to put the Shri Mataji's throne in on the lake, and that was just not a good thing to do. So I don't know how it happened, but anyway, somebody who was there at the time could tell you the full story. Somebody who was, you know, in charge of the stage and everything. But it was not pleasing to the deities, that idea. So it didn't happen, fortunately, that the throne was out on the lake. I mean, of course, the tent would have been around it and stuff. It would have been just in, but anyway, whatever. So Lago de Brais and Pragsavilci. So Pragsavilci was the German word for it, and Lago de Brais was the Italian name for it. So that was Saraswara Puja. No, sorry, that was Guru Puja. Guru Puja. Saraswara Puja was in Sorrento. I think there was a bus of English that came to that, so that was really nice for me to see the English. See, I would see the English and I would see the Sheffield Collective when I came to the pujas. That was really lovely for me. 1989. Then also there was the Milan Puja that year, and then there was the Milan Puja, that the Bhairava Puja, was that year? Or was that the year before? I think I went to a lot of pujas that year, but 1989, but I'm trying to remember them now. And I think there might have been a Ganesha Puja in Switzerland. I think probably by this time I was getting to the point of being happy in, well, not being happy in Austria. I mean, that took me a long time, but being better, feeling better in Austria. And just think of it, all these pujas, all this amazing vibrational boosts, just and at some point, I can't remember what year it was, me and Walter started to go to Steyr. I mean, not just me and Walter, there was also Wolfgang Gillick, and a couple of other people, I think, because there was a couple there who were interested in Saj Yoga, and so we started to kind of do some programs there, I think, or maybe just do some meditations with this couple and their friends. But anyway, they are still in Saj Yoga. Helmut Havelka and Gerdi. So yeah, we started. So in our first few years, we was doing things, doing meetings and trying to spread Saj Yoga. So we were going to Sopron in Hungary, and then Budapest. And Shri Mataji came to Budapest first in 1991. And that was the year that I got to be with Shri Mataji and, as they call it, look after Shri Mataji, serve her. And but I'm jumping ahead now. So I was working in the kindergarten. I worked in the kindergarten, in the Saj Yoga kindergarten in Melikagasse. That was probably 1989. And Jon was working there, so I worked with her there, and she was a proper kindergarten teacher, but I think I was like just a helper. And I remember there was at one point where me and Walter moved into the ashram. Like, the ashram was full, it was completely full, and there was probably, I think there was 5 or 6 couples rooms, and then there was also a room for the yuvas that weren't married, and that was all upstairs. And then next to the kindergarten room downstairs was a cupboard with all the stuff in for the kindergarten. It was like a walk-in cupboard, and it was like, I don't know, maybe, it was pretty wide. Like, you could just about fit a double mattress in there. And me and Walter moved in there. We lived there, I think maybe for 3 months in this cupboard. And I don't know whether it was Walter's big desire, but it was my big desire to live in an ashram, and so that's what we did. It was just for about 3 months. And then after that, we moved to Perkelsdorf Ashram. I don't know when Perkelsdorf Ashram started, but we actually happened to have a hut. Well, sorry, we happened to have Walter's family had a garden, like in Austria. They have a flat in the city, and then they have a garden, what they call their garden outside the city. So there's lots of these like plots of land that they call their gardens, and they bring their kids there, and they have a shed there. Now, this shed was probably, it was fairly, I don't know, it was maybe as big as a bedroom. And we lived, that was our bedroom. So we lived in the shed, and we would come to the ashram for we had a toilet in the back of the shed, but for the showers and for the meals so we basically lived in the ashram, and our bedroom was in the shed. So that was kind of incredible, because this garden was like diagonally opposite to the ashram. That was just like a total coincidence. And in the beginning, Perkelsdorf Ashram was another ashram that was really full, and at one point there was even people living downstairs in the basement. It was just like there was somebody living outside in the back in the hut. There was a hut or a shed there as well. There was a couple, Vijaya and Andreas lived there, and Raghava with the little boy Raghava. And then we had our kids, but I'm jumping ahead. So in 1991, I went to Sicily, to the children's camp. That there was Rome children's, the Rome kindergarten thing that the children used to go to, and then they I don't know if they did this often, but that year they took the children to Sicily for like a children's camp next to the sea, and I that's where I went. I hadn't been to Rome, but I went there to Sicily, and because I'd helped in Sicily, and because I didn't have any little children at the time that I needed to be taken care of, I was allowed to look after Shri Mataji when she came to Austria. I think that was the year that she stayed in Perkelsdorf Ashram. I remember at the airport, I was going in the car with her, and I remember standing there at the airport kind of thinking, how do I do this? How do I sit in the car with Sri Adi Shakti, And I remember thinking, oh, just ask the deities. The deities will do it for me. Whatever needs to be done, whatever protocol is, how to be auspicious, just ask the deities. And so then I just completely calmed down, and I just asked the deities to help me. And of course, there was nothing to worry about, because Sri Mataji is just so gentle and normal, and she was basically talking with the leaders who were in the front. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Wolfgang and Hamid. And she's just chatting with them. I remember she was kind of holding on to that, that handle above the door, and just so kind of casual and normal, and like she does as Mahamaya. So that was from the airport to the ashram, and I remember when I remember just looking at her feet when she got out of the car, and she put her feet on the road, and thinking, gosh, Sri Mataji's Shri Mataji is just walking on this road, it's just, and that's something I always remembered then. I mean, not every second that I lived on that road, but basically she was there. That was just where the car was parked, basically opposite where I lived, and we built a house there on that ground as well, and lived there for 7 years. So that was a very blessed place. Still is a very blessed place. Um, um, and 1991 is when Kabbalah started. The Saraswara Puja I went to, and that was in Saraswara Puja. 91. It was in Italy. But the first puja in Kabbalah was Guru Puja in 1991. And that was in a circus tent down near the river, just next to the bridge in the village. Yes, I was there the other day. I'd forgotten about that. I was just there in that exact place where the tent had been, and we'd had the puja. Of course, it was all clear then. It wasn't all full of trees like it is now. Might have been over on the other side of that little river. And I went to that puja there that year, and also Diwali puja. And I remember Purnima arriving from Colombia, and I don't think she'd even been to Austria yet. And she was freezing cold, because it was really freezing cold in Kabbalah for Diwali puja. And the person who we were staying in the flat in the village, and I don't think the heating was on. And Purnima said I gave her my bed, but I don't actually remember that, or my sleeping bag or something. But that's what I remember most about Diwali Puja, was how cold it was there. I don't think we ever had a Diwali Puja in Kabbalah after that. Yeah, I think I've missed out 1990 and the pujas in 1990. The Saraswara Puja was in Italy, and the Guru Puja was in Avignon. And this was in 1990. In Avignon, there was a river very similar to the river in Kabbalah, and I remember that we did lots of foot soaking in that river, and I remember thinking, gosh, this is so amazing that we've got this river here for the puja. It's just perfect, this river. And so that was also amazing when we came to Kabbalah, and then permanently we have that river. Yeah, so clearing. I felt that in Avignon. So obviously we know that now. It's very clearing, the river. Yeah, Guru Puja in Avignon. And then I think there was a Ganesha Puja, was there? Anyway, I can't remember the other pujas in 1990. I don't know, my mind's going quite blank now. I think I need Shushmita to prompt me. not so easy to just do it on your own. I also went to India in 1990. Went on the India tour in 1990. and 1991. 88, 90 and 91 I went on the India tour. There was one India tour we went on, and I think it was the 91. I remember going to the Swayambhu and sitting there meditating at the Swayambhu and kind of thinking, oh right, so this is the Swayambhu. Kind of just didn't really necessarily feel much, but we did the Ganesha Torashesha, we did, and then afterwards, gosh, I felt absolutely amazing after the meditation, and then we were going back along the beach towards the camp, and there was this river coming down the beach that we had to cross, and there was this like really symbolic kind of thing happening where we had to cross this river, and it was quite strong current, and we were kind of standing there, and like not there was me and Kathy and these two American women who we got to know on the tour, and then these two men came with these bikes, and they walked across the river with the bikes above their head, and I think that's what the thing was that made us think, okay, if they can do that with the bikes above their head, then we can do it too. And so we got in the river and we crossed, and it was like this big thing that kind of cleared our center heart out, and just was a very powerful experience. Quite an adventure, really. That's what I remember about that tour. Maybe when I'm talking, and also when I'm not talking, when I'm just kind of having these pauses, I don't know, maybe you do feel the vibrations of these things that I'm talking about and these places, because sometimes it's not just about the words that I say, it's just the connection that I'm remembering these things, and then you connect with me. I remember I don't remember when this happened, but I think I was reading one of the memories of Maureen. There's a memory of Maureen written in the memories book where she talks about, and she's also said it on the Golden Memories, she talks about when she slept in the bed with Shri Mataji. There was some times when they were sleeping on the floor around Shri Mataji's bed, but there was also one time when she slept in the bed. And I remember reading this and thinking, okay, there's no difference between Maureen and me in how Shri Mataji sees us. And so just reading this, I could also have the exact same experience, that I'm lying there in the room with Shri Mataji, and there's no reason why I wouldn't have the same experience. And when I thought that, it was almost like I was there, I don't know if other people have that, but sometimes when somebody's talking about a memory of Shri Mataji, it's like I'm there. It's like Shri Mataji takes us there. There's no difference between any of us. And there's no difference between our connection with Shri Mataji. I didn't spend very much time with Shri Mataji physically. As I say, there was just that experience in '91. And I think I had one conversation with Shri Mataji ever in my life when she was talking about the cottage industries, because she asked me where I came from, and she was talking about the cottage industries in Derbyshire. And now I really understand the significance of that conversation, because of the importance, of course, of buying handmade stuff and handcrafted stuff, and keeping that old tradition of making things, how important that is, and how there is a lot of movement in the country, probably in the world, of people trying to make natural things. And there's that website Etsy where they sell those kinds of things. And so yeah, that at the time I didn't really understand the significance of that conversation. And then after Shri Mataji's visit to Vienna, she went to Budapest, and there is some photographs where I'm next to Shri Mataji in the train station. So I think people have perhaps seen that. And so then I went in the coach with Shri Mataji on the way from Vienna, in the train coach, in the train compartment with Shri Mataji. And there was Herman there, I remember. I think maybe Hamid was there. I was there, and Shri Mataji asked me she told me to massage her right calf. And she was telling me to massage it hard, which is right heart, of course. Working on my right heart. I don't remember much else about that train ride. And then, so that was Shri Mataji's first visit to Budapest. And we hired a house for her in the hill above the river Danube. We had a really, really lovely time there. There was Birgitta Sorgstad and 2 or 3 others of us there. Yeah. There was one time we went shopping with Shri Mataji in Budapest. Just amazingly, so many thousands and thousands and thousands of times that Shri Mataji would have been with yogis in all different situations, and such a mighty, mighty time for humanity. And now are the times just after that. And so if it feels completely and utterly crazy because we're coming to the end of this Kali Yuga and it's got more and more and more intense and crazy, also we there's the opposite that's been happening and is happening of Shri Mataji's advent. And that's what we can have our attention on. How mighty that is. If you look at Shri Mataji's itinerary and you see where she is one day, then the next day, then the next day, like in different countries, just Spain, Italy, France, like one day after the, like the next day, then the next day in India, and then the next day in, maybe 2-3 days later in India, then 2-3 days later in Australia, then just she really fitted so much in. And she worked all hours to establish Sahaja Yoga. She told us she wouldn't be leaving until she's established Sahaja Yoga. So Sahaja Yoga is established. It's quite incredible. The Sahaja Yoga in the world now is quite incredible, and it's because Shri Mataji established it. And she worked very, very hard, and what we're like now is nothing, is how we used to be, and how we are now is all because of Shri Mataji's created this collective which is pure. It's just naturally pure. Yes, we have problems between us, and we sometimes we have these splits. We call them splits. We call them divides in the collective. And yet the purity is there. The purity is there. That this is the thing we have to work out, is this thing where we criticize each other or react to each other or think that we're right about something and other people are wrong. And when we talk about the splits and we say, oh, so and so's doing so and therefore it's causing a split, we're also causing the split when we say that. Just so it's all a bit of a, that we kind of get into the whirlwind of it, whirlpool of it, and we know we just have to desire in our hearts for the love to be flowing between us, and we have to, I certainly have to get better at not talking ill of people, anybody, any yogi, and seeing myself and not others. But this is what she's taught us over and over and over again. So we will get there. In 1992, I got hepatitis. In fact, it was from India that I got hepatitis. I think it's hepatitis A, which is what you get from food and stuff. Lots of people got it from something in Ganapatipuli. I don't know what it was, but lots of people got hepatitis. I don't know if it was the food or the water or what, but I was really ill, really, really ill, and I had to go to England, and I had to get on the plane, and then I went to the doctors in England, and she recognised it straight away that I got hepatitis. She knew immediately, the doctor, and the health department came round and interested because I lived in Austria at the time. But anyway, yeah, and then about, I don't know, maybe about 4 or 5 weeks after I was feeling better from the hepatitis, which took about 3 weeks, I started feeling ill again. And I thought it was coming back, but actually I was pregnant. And I was really quite ill with the pregnancy. But yeah, so that was pregnant with Pearl. And I must admit that once we had kids, we did start to do a lot less, probably because we were busy having baby. But we still lived in the ashram, and we still went to 3 pujas a year each. That was amazing, the fact that we did that. And, the fact that we could afford that. And hi, Shishpita. I've just been rambling on.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. There was such a downpour that I had to take our daughter to, where she had to go urgently. And then because of the downpour, and it's next to the station, and Shankarji was coming. He was like 10 minutes away, so I brought him as well. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for holding the fort and sharing your story there. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can't remember whether I said that. Yeah, I think I said that once we started having children, once we'd got Pearl and then we had Blake, we didn't go to as many pujas then. We went to about 3 pujas a year, and we weren't, going to Budapest and going to Shopra and so much. We weren't doing so much for Saj Yoga, and we were just kind of more in the kind of ashram life, and and visiting, but coming back to visit my mom. And I remember
Sarah,
telling them,
sorry. What was the ashram life like? This is Nirmal Prust in Vienna, isn't it?
no, no,
A
Nirmal Prasad
different ashram.
No, Nirmal Prash was not even in a twinkle in Wolfgang's eye at that point. I tell
Okay.
you, we had no idea about Nirmal
So
Prash.
which ashram is this?
Uh, it was um, Perkelsdorf ashram, Perkelsdorf.
Bertelstov
Yeah.
ashram. And when was this? 1991,
Well, I've talked a little bit about how we kind of ended up at Perkelsdorf ashram because we had this place diagonally opposite to the
Yeah.
ashram.
Yeah.
So 91, we kind of started there. And then gradually we built a house on that ground, on that piece of ground. I mean, Walter kind of built the outer bit, and I did all the inner bit, the plastering and the painting and the varnishing and stuff. Um, and Yeah, and all that time, the ashram was just really, really populated, just really strong.
Give us a day in the ashram there. What was it like? Because we've done the some of the early ashrams with Shri Mataji in London. It would be nice to know what it was like for an ashramite in Austria at that point.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about Perkel stuff was, it kind of looking out, not necessarily my experience of it, but the thing about Perkel stuff, I think, is that the people who lived there had already lived in ashrams before, and they'd even lived in ashrams together before. Not all of them, but the kind of the core of them. So you had this sense of that there was already the experience, there was already, so it was kind of it felt quite established. Like it felt the collective was pretty established, and Sri Mataji came to that ashram, so it was really a vibrated place. Just like Melikagasa was also a very vibrated place because Sri Mataji came there. I mean, of course, all the ashrams were strong vibrations, and the thing about the ashrams at that time was the children. I think the kind of the basis of life was. I mean, of course, perhaps the men, the husbands, were going out to work, but when they came into the ashram, it was all about the children, really. And so, and of course, there were children that had gone off to India, but these were the little ones. And the kindergarten. I was taking the children from from that ashram to the kindergarten in Melikagasa. So that ashram was kind of the other side of Vienna, and we would travel on the orbital. And I remember once taking the children. Well, a few times I took the children while I was pregnant, and it was boiling, boiling hot. And I got stuck in the traffic there. Oh God. I mean, it was like a really hot summer that summer I was pregnant. Oh my God. And the second time it happened, I started crying because I knew how hot it was going to be and how awful it was going to be with all these children I mean, the children did really well. The children were fine. But anyway, yeah, so that was the kind of that was what was going on, and the Vicky and Martin and with their children, and then Wolfgang and Sabina with their children, Gowrie and Hamid with their children, and then us with ours, then Vijaya and Andreas with Raghava, and so it was like it's all about the children at that time. And there was this sandpit at the back, and we're looking after each other's children, and
Yes.
yeah,
Were
it's
you
just
able to do the early morning meditations and things?
yes, yes, and
How was that panning out?
yeah. So those years, those first few years of Petalsdorf Ashram, that's of course the morning meditation was the kind of the thing that held it together. I mean, I mean, any ashram, I think that's what it is. It's the not necessarily the morning meditation with every ashram, but that's what it was with us. It was the morning. It was 6 o'clock in the morning, and that's what like you live. You're all living together. You know you don't. You're just like all these odd people living together. The only way it can work is the fact that we're meditating together, not the fact that we're meditating, but the fact that we're meditating together, you know. And I think we used to have also a meet. I remember we had a meeting there that the other people came to as well as the ashram people. One evening a week, I think that's right. I'm not. But of course, and then there's the rotas with the cooking, the sharing the cooking rota and the cleaning and all that kind of stuff. So, there's all the different bits of dramas and yeah. But that thing it did work. It worked for a good many years, and I think and one thing I did notice was that when we got to a point where we weren't prioritizing the meditating together, that's when things started to get a bit. It didn't actually feel like an ashram so much anymore. There was a lot less people there, so it was kind of a different evolution really of it. But those years when there was lots of people there, and it was, and the kids were this big part of it as well, and yeah, it was just really strong. And the other thing that I noticed about it was there would be these kind of it would kind of go like, it would kind of undulate. There would be these periods of time where there was just so much joy, so much joy. And then there would be periods of time where everything's just, and there's like people not getting on, and there's just like the flatness so it felt like, we would be working something out, and then once we worked through it all, then there would just be the joy, and it would just be, and it was, and that was because we were meditating together, it was, yeah.
So did Shri Mataji ever visit in that ashram when you guys?
Yes, she came in
What
1991 to the ashram.
1991, and
Yeah,
what?
and there was one little part of that visit where she sat in the living room and talked to us. It was just amazing. Yeah, yeah, it was. We did actually, realize it wasn't right that we'd invited her to stay in the ashram. It was too small. The bathroom was too small. It wasn't correct. Actually, we should have got a hotel for her, but we didn't really understand that at the time, I think.
Hmm. Okay. And any other than interactions with Shri Mataji? So Blake was born in
95.
95. Oh, we are in 91, 92 at the moment.
Yeah. Pearl was the first one. She was born in 92, in November 92.
Okay. And so
And
you had hepatitis at India too, which you've mentioned earlier. Uh,
yeah. So the hepatitis was before the pregnancy, and I don't think it actually caused any
mm,
problems. It kind of took its course and it was over. But because I was feeling sick, I was thinking it was coming back, but it wasn't. It was just feeling sick from the pregnancy.
morning sickness and all that. Okay,
Yeah,
interesting. That is nice, isn't it? So,
yeah.
um, any advice that you remember that Shri would have passed on at that time? Um,
Um, I think one thing I remember, I don't know if it was advice particularly, but one thing I remember was I talked a little bit about, in the other one, I talked about that time in 1985 when we were
Hmm.
all called to Hounslow Ashram. There was also a time that we were all called to Frankfurt. Shri Mataji said she wants us all to go to Frankfurt. Now,
Okay.
I didn't go to Frankfurt. I think I was working as a teacher at the time, so I just could not get the time off. But there was. I don't actually know how. It would be nice to kind of find out what. I mean, I would have known at the time, but I've forgotten. It would be nice to find out what Shri Mataji was telling us then. It was like what. So what I remember was there would be times where Shri Mataji would. There'd be like this accumulation of something, and then Shri Mataji would kind of call us together, and then she would really tell us about that.
Hmm.
Whatever it is that we like, you could say it was a telling off, but it was basically teaching us about that particular thing. So I can't actually remember what it was, the Frankfurt thing, but I just remember that.
Which year would that be then?
I don't know, because if I was working as a teacher, it must have been already. I started working in 1999 as a teacher,
Okay. So
so
Frank.
it must have been after that. Um,
Okay.
but the other thing that I noticed, and I think this is something really, really important to that probably lots of people have also recognized, is that Shri Mataji worked through all these dramas and these leaders and these, these, she would put these leaders in place, and then there would be all these dramas because these leaders were just like so terrible. I mean, not obviously not all of them, they weren't all terrible, some of them were wonderful, but
Yeah.
like, then there would be like this kind of almost like a following of that lead, and then whoever had been following that leader would either, when they kind of get like that, Marcus in particular was an example of that. So when they get exposed, and they leave Saj Yoga, then some leave at the same time, but then other people have just got to clear out all the stuff that they've accumulated from being so associated with this leader or following this leader or something. We had a drama like that in Sheffield too, and
Recently.
well, since I came back in 2003. Um, It was this woman called Kimmy, and she had anyway. I don't know if you want to know about all that, but through that there was people. People learnt big lessons through these dramas, and I feel like that's what's going on now in the world, in the wide world now, is that through these terrible, crazy leaders, people are having to learn big lessons, and there's kind of this magnet where they kind of they're pulling the whole drama into a big thing, and then through that big drama we're learning these big lessons. I mean, it's quite horrific. I mean, it's quite extremely horrific compared to the dramas we had in Saj Yoga. Of course, it doesn't compare. But I think that's basically what else is going on. It's happening. It's the reality, and we have to kind of see that we're having to learn from it.
That's right.
But that's what would happen in Saj Yoga over the years. I remember there was this one time, I think it was 1994, I seem to remember, there was this big thing about, oh, Shri Mataji is going to say that all the children have to go to India and all the children have to go to Rome. And the exact opposite happened. She actually said in a talk, do you think I have, I think she said that in the talk. I remember there was one time when she said, do you think I'm not looking after them wherever they are? But then there was one time in a talk, I think, where she was saying, if I know it's difficult in the West, but if you're strong, you can do it as a parent. That was in 1994. I'm pretty sure about that. I don't know which puja, but um, so that was like the exact opposite message that she would. So there'd be like these big things, in the collective, and then Shri Mataji would just like dissipate it all, But the reason that we learned so much from it was because there'd been this big thing, which is probably what's going on now in Italy with Guido. It's just a similar thing. It's kind of so yeah. And the
So,
other thing I
yeah,
remember
go
about
on. Yes,
1994
please.
was Navratri Puja. There was in Navratri Puja 1994, the night before the puja, there was a really long talk. Now, I don't know if I was actually there. I think I might not have been there, but I do remember the talk because Wolfgang would always bring the talk back and we would watch the talk immediately that Friday when we all met together, because he would video the talk. And Shri Mataji said that it's, I don't know if she said it in these words, but basically this was the message. It's not enough for you to be married, you have to be happily married. Now that was a big shock for me because I was not happily married, and I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get to that? Yeah, that's another thing I remember about 1994 was that there was quite a strong, it was a similar speech. I mean, not a similar speech, but similar thing to the speech before Saraswati Puja in 1995. It was like a big speech, on the evening before the Navratri Puja in 94. I'm pretty sure I've got the year right there. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just writing out the dates of the puja, so we'll put the links of the pujas that we can find with this talk, with this interview of yours. So this is Navratri, evening before Navratri Puja, 1994.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Shrimanji says you have to be not just married, but happily married.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank So from a 19-year-old to now, and we won't say your age, but how has the spiritual journey been, and what are the things that you really found that take you deeper into the silence, the Srimataji's words that hold that for you?
I think uh well, I think I had a big kind of maybe decade of not doing so well. I mean, I was always in Saj Yoga, I was always meditating, I was always in the collective. But I think I'd had perhaps about a decade of not doing so well. But I remember in 2013, I think it was, I started to do this collective meditation in online. It was Gilly Grimshaw and Douglas Fry. They had this collective meditation online at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I think that was. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I don't. There'll be some people who will get upset if I say I wasn't doing so well, and then suddenly I was doing well, because they'll be like, "Come on, you were in our collective, you were doing well." But I do think that that was kind of the beginning of when I was coming out of all that. It was to do with getting divorced and all those, and kind of going off balance really from all that.
So this would be the divorce from Walter,
Yeah,
large marriage, and then
yeah.
finding your feet again. Uh,
Yes, and I do think that 5 o'clock collective meditation online really helped that, and I noticed how it was helping it, and so I really I really increased. I really made sure I got to that meditation most mornings, and then I became a moderator, so I was moderating once a week as well at 5 o'clock. So that was also good, because that also boosts your vibrations, doesn't it? And then recently I've had another feeling like I've had a boost. Is I found this thing called Virata. You see, I joined the New Year meditation this year,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this what they call the witness practice. I don't know if you've come across it, but it's an Indian thing. So it's a team of Indian yogis, but there are three or four people who are not in India, and they do these meditations like almost every hour of the day, of the waking day in India. So it's not all our, so it's like all of it is 4.5 hours behind now, and 5.5 hours behind in winter. So but they have what they call witness practice. So they have like this 20 minutes or so where they're just like doing some version of this kind of just and just witnessing the chakras and what you're feeling on your hands and stuff. So they have those, and they also have two clearing sessions a day, and they also have a puja every Friday where they say 1,000 names of Shri Mataji, and they also have a puja every Tuesday, Ganesha puja. Now, I'm not joining all these things. I just tend to be joining because I just don't have time to do, and I'm working. A lot of the time I'm working when they're doing these
Are
things.
you back to teaching?
No, I'm a psychotherapist now.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's what I do now. And I'm a family constellator, but I don't get to do as much of that work.
Yes, to kind
Um,
of try and fit in.
well, yeah, because I just don't get the clients for family constellations. It's like it's not taken off in the north yet, but um,
So tell us, before we conclude, any
yeah.
outstanding, joyful, humorous memories with Shri Mataji?
Um, well, I remember, I don't know, I probably mentioned this about the Houston. I'll never forget that Houston talk. Like, I don't know whether I would find it as so funny now, but it was just like there was just, it was a public program, and it was like she would just be talking and talking like in this serious way, and so she's building up this thing, and then she makes a joke, and it's just like it's like it's not just the fact that she's making you laugh. She's working all this stuff out in this talk. It's just amazing. And she just had us in stitches. We were just in stitches.
Um,
Um, and it was funny because when I arrived in Houston, Sri Mataji stayed, I think, in the house of a yogi. But anyway, she was at that point when I arrived in this house of this yogi. And they said to me as I walked in, they said, "You've just missed Shri Mataji just having a laughing fit for ages and ages." I don't know what she was laughing about, but so seemingly that whole Houston thing was in 1986. That was visit. It was just all about humor and laughter. Um, but there were but other than that, I don't remember anything that's not something that we would always all have experienced, in her talks. And yeah,
so the Houston Puja was in 1986, wasn't it?
yeah, it was. I don't know if it was a puja. I don't think there was a puja. I
I mean,
think it
public program,
was,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to find it so we can listen to a bit
I
of
think
it.
it might have been June,
June, okay.
June or July.
Not responding. My screen's hung up. Sorry. I can't share the talk, but I will provide the link.
Right.
Sorry, it's just, yeah. I will provide the link to the 1986 Houston public program where
Mhm.
Mataji got everyone in stitches. And
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much, Sarah, for taking your time out and being with us this afternoon, evening,
Thank you. Thank you for
and sharing your
inviting
wonderful
me.
journey.
Yes. Yes, and
And
you'll get to see the bit that where you were out. Yes,
yes,
might be
will
in
do, definitely. And thank you for the understanding there.
there were
I mean,
times
this
when
is
I
only
got a bit
possible
lost.
inside yoga, thanks to Shri Mataji, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
oh, incredible.
yeah, yeah.
Jai Shri Mataji again and again. And thank you very much, Sarah.
Jai Shri Mataji.